And also, it is accessible in 6 different languages, namely English, Chinese, Indonesian, Bengali, Khmer, and Vietnamese as well. If I may add, the playbook features more than 20 case studies. At the end of the report, you can find real-life examples, solutions developed by companies and institutions that have already scaled, implemented, or tested upstream circularity practices. So we have some in Europe and the US, but mainly in Asia. Yes. So in the final slide, I will briefly present the different chapters of this report. So first, yes, so the step-by-step guide, there are 5 important steps. The first one is about segregating textile waste in factories. So this is pretty much about giving solutions to prevent contamination of the textile waste and enhance the recycling quality. So, for instance, utilizing bins to keep textile waste separate, giving trainings to factory workers for them to accurately identify the fabric types as well. The second step was about digital traceability of the textile waste. So this is basically to track the waste flows and to document the characteristics and the qualities of the textile waste, to be sure that the waste meets the needs for their reuse, but also their recycling. The third step is about collecting, aggregating, and sorting. So this is really about ensuring that the textile waste is properly prepared and delivered to recyclers. So it's about clearly defining the roles and the responsibilities of the different actors at this stage, as there are several like collectors, sorters. Then we have the matching textile waste to its best use case. This means selecting the most suitable recycling technologies to ensure that we have the best material recovery. So in this chapter, we have made a list of solutions by order of preference. There's upcycling, of course, recycling, and then downcycling. And in the last step of the step-by-step guide, there is design and recycled materials. So we are basically talking about how to best reintroduce the recycled materials into the value chain, and saying that this can take place if we take into consideration the unique properties of the recycled materials during the design stage already of the products. So apart from the step-by-step guide, we also have a part in the report that is presenting essential enablers that can support a conducive environment for circularity. So first, we highlighted that supportive policy, taxation, and tariffs can create a great environment for investment in recycling of the textile waste. So, for instance, tariff policies that would be on imported recycled materials, for instance. Then we, of course, touched upon the importance of technologies to allow the appropriate identification and traceability of the feedstocks. We also showed that access to finance can be critical to, for instance, enable investment in advanced recycling technologies, especially machinery that can be quite costly, but also to boost R&D efforts to innovate in terms of recycling technologies. And finally, we talked about capacity building. We highlighted its role, and it can take the form of many different forms, actually. It could be training in textile waste segregation, but also the public and private sector that can maybe create campaigns to educate consumers about the benefits of recycling, and also encourage them to make responsible purchasing decisions. So that was my little overview of the playbook. Thank you very much for your attention. Here are the informations to reach out to me directly if you have any questions. And yes, over to you, Samantha.
Thank you so much, Leah, for setting the tone of the seminar and taking us through the playbook with some of the key themes of local action. This is a global resource that you shared, but it really is for local action, and the strength of partnerships. Everyone within the textile garment manufacturing industry, the sector, has a role to play. And what's interesting, you ended your piece with mention of the enablers. So what really creates a conducive environment? And I think that's interesting to link back to the question that we asked the audience at the beginning. I have the results of their opinions, because some of those challenges, we really need to switch those challenges into solutions to become enablers for this really to thrive, for the recycling, the upstream circularity. So the question that we asked was, what, in your opinion, what is one of the greatest challenges for overcoming or kind of blocking upstream circularity? 61% of you felt that it was the lack of infrastructure for material recovery and recycling. So that is the top challenge. The least, the challenge that you thought was less of a barrier was the limited awareness or engagement from stakeholders. So it seems that there is the awareness there, but there are other barriers preventing us from progressing, such as the high costs, the insufficient policy support and regulatory frameworks. So Leah mentioned that as an enabler just now. So it'd be really interesting as we go through the rest of the panelists and the rest of the session, how these challenges have impacted the work of the different stakeholders, and also how we can overcome some of these. And we look towards you in the Q&A at the end to maybe give some examples from your own work as well. So thank you once again, Leah. Now I want to turn to our second panelist, who is Abdur. And as Leah mentioned, there was a steering committee that pulled together the upstream circularity playbook, and Abdur was one of those key actors. He was on the steering committee, and with his company, Recycle Raw, is very much embedded in all of this work on a daily basis in Bangladesh and Indonesia. So Abdur, you and your waste handling business, Recycle Raw, have been highlighted as a successful example in the playbook. So many congratulations for your hard work. And I think testament to that is really that you've expanded into Indonesia now. So could you explain a bit more to us about your business model, and why is it so important to have businesses like yours for upstream circularity? Over to you, Abdur, please.
Thank you, Sam. It's really a good question. And I'm really glad that Upstream Circularity Playbook has attention on Recycle Raw. Sorry. Your question is like to me is a two-part. Number is you want to know about our business model, number one, and number two, you want to know the importance of this kind of business or like Recycle Raw type company in upstream circularity. Okay,
Exactly.
I'll come back step by step. Let's talk about Recycle Raw first. Recycle Raw is founded in 2015, and Recycle Raw Limited transforms textile waste into sustainable solutions. It is one-stop solution, I would say, for textile waste management, delivering quality and sustainability with traceability. Our mission is to streamline processes, improve workplace conditions like compliance, and lead the recycling fashion cycle by reintegrating textile waste into supply chain. Through innovation, research, and collaboration, we aim to conserve resources and contribute to a greener planet. So we do a lot of innovation, and also we do jointly research with different university as well, and also we have a very good collaboration with different brands and also organization in US and Europe that is also helpful to penetrate in the market. And basically, our work starts from waste collection. We collect waste in two ways. Number one, that Leah has explained that some of the organization is now helping the waste generated how to pre-segregate the materials, and that is really helpful for waste handler or waste management company to get a contamination free materials. So we collect pre-segregated waste from the factory, means garment and textile manufacturers. Those reduce our tasks significantly to make them contamination free. And of course, there is another second route. There is we also collect waste from local market. It means those those collect waste from factories and do an initial sorting and sell them locally. In this case, they are primary collectors, I would say. Here our effort is enormous to make them contamination free, because in that case waste get entangled each other, different colors, contamination can come, also composition. It's difficult to segregate in our states, and unfortunately the maximum percentage of procurement is done in this route. Now I want to describe our total process in a diagram. So our colleague Mr. Hani, can you help me in this case? Great. So I hope everybody is watching my screen. There is recycle raw work process. Our process, as I mentioned earlier, started from waste collection. So waste normally we collect from garment factory, either garment factory or spinning factories, or like knitting within factories. So, and second stage in our those materials are collected to our warehouses, and then we preserve them. And at the first stage, we do a primary sorting. In this stage, we normally segregate according to items like yarn and also woven fabric, and also denim, twill, knitted, and also heavy knitted. Many things we segregate according to items. And then composition, of course, many composition is there, and colors and also sizes. And for chemical recyclers, we need to segregate also dyes and chemicals wise. So this is really a challenging job in this sector, I would say. And second step, this is also another QC. We call it filtration. In this step, we make sure that there is no contamination inside. We try all label based. All tasks are manual till now. So there is a lack of technology till now in this sector, but it can uh, it can make sure 99% contamination free till now, I would say. And then we do our own ecosystem inspection, so that we can confirm that these goods are good to go in next step. In next step, we scale up homogeneous materials, like we need to match color very accurately, and also composition, and then also a chemical matter, because chemical recyclers requires more uniform chemical element there. And then we pack them for next step. So we determine basically that materials will go where. Is for suitable for upcycling, or for downcycling, or for chemical recycling, or for mechanical recycling. We better prefer mechanical recycling, because this is more environment friendly, so water consumption almost none here. So we are helping our environment much to be sustainable in this case. So this is our main job, and here our capacity is around 3,000 plus ton in Bangladesh only. This is our output materials, and in Indonesia is around 700 to 800 tons per month. So in total, you can say around 4,000 ton materials we are segregating each month in all categories and colors and composition together. And recently we have started to work with spinning mill, like through our strategic collaboration. We send them materials, and they also send yarn instead, so that we can maintain traceability properly, and then make sure that this materials is converting into yarn and coming back to textile supply chain. So this is our new addition, and it's really fantastic job. And if I say about our capacity, it's like I already mentioned that it's around 4,000 ton per month. This is a massive quantity, I would say. Still in this market, this is kind of biggest quantity as a waste management company. So in 2015, it was only 500 ton. So in 2025, End of 2025, our target is 5,000 ton per month. So its demand is growing everywhere. So this is really important to make expansion like us. Only recycle raw cannot make solution for everybody. So it's really encourageable that if any other player can come to this field to make this recycle stuff happening in a biggest way. And another question was the importance of upskilling circularity. So in these states, I would say that better waste management for upskilling circularity. Better waste management is really important. Better waste management means better fiber identification, better chemical identification. For example, if we are able to confirm zero contamination in case of 100% cotton or 100% polyester, and also color matching is much more accurate. So textile to textile recycling will be much more easier for recyclers. So this is really important because we all know that in present case, textile to textile recycling percentage is very low. So if we can make sure that fiber identification and chemical identification is more accurate, in that case only we can increase the percentage of textile to textile recycling. On the other hand, if there were technologies for identifying blended composition, then textile to textile recycling percentage will boom. But unfortunately, till now, we are not able to identify like how much percentage is cotton and how much percentage is polyester is blended together. So for the lack of better textile waste management, big amount of waste, I would rather say big amount of resources lost the potentiality to return in fashion supply chain. So waste management is very, very important for upskilling circularity. So I strongly encourage more player in the place. And I hope my explanation is going to meet your answer, Sam.
Of course, Abdul. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and your thoughts and the diagram. We will send this as part of the post-event follow-up to participants. But just as you explained, and we can see there, and you mentioned, it's a really complex process. And you're operating in, a dynamic environment, also with multiple stakeholders, different enabling environments. But it's really impressive what you've achieved. And I think the sheer the number, so going from 500 tons per month to 4,000 tons per month since 2015 is phenomenal. So the demand is there, as we mentioned a while ago as well, the awareness is there, but there are some challenges that remain. And ultimately, the supply chain, the intention is there. We really want to have that cleaner management, cleaner planet, and waste management is so important, but there are challenges. So maybe, Abdul, back to you again. Maybe you can just explain to us what's your top challenge that you face at the moment. You mentioned a few, but particularly when dealing with factories or kind of recycling regionally and internationally. You're there in Bangladesh, you're there in Indonesia. What challenges do you face when you then have to open up regionally and internationally?
Yeah. Every business has unique challenges, I believe. But we have also plenty. I can explain one or two very important challenges. One, I would say waste collection is one of them. Normally, waste is controlled by a well-organized team in a specific area. We're not allowed to collect waste freely. We have to negotiate with them. That are always not healthy negotiation. These problems we found in every manufacturing countries, not only Bangladesh, not only Indonesia, rather everywhere. So this is a primary challenge, I would say, waste collection. And secondly, always funding is a big challenge for this kind of business because financial institution doesn't understand properly our business model. Hence, they feel risky to invest here. And also, like third world country like Bangladesh and all, also interest rate is too high. Those all constraints make a lot of trouble to play a nice game for us. Otherwise, it would be much more easier to be more circular. Another one is lack of brand cooperation, I would say. Brands should come forward to make the fashion circular by accepting recycled product limitation. This is not much mature industry till now, we all know. Everywhere investors are trying, inventors are trying hard to explore good solution. In the meantime, if they don't increase their purchase, don't increase their purchase, industry will not support recycling at all. So in after COVID, we are observing that a lot of brands is coming forward to promote circularity in their brand, but ultimately the quality what we are achieving as a finished fabric or finished yarn, there's a limitation. For example, fabric, the brand designers are comparing with like virgin and recycled stuff as a similar label, and that is a bit challenging to meet the requirement. For, like recovered fiber has a smaller length. In that case, peeling grade will not be as the virgin, so this should be
Mhm.
understood by designer. So in that case, we actually it's a chain, right? So we are not making a garment, but if a brand don't purchase more recycled garment, then from the ground what we are working, we will face a lot of difficulties to make the waste convert into recycled stuff.
Mm.
So these all are the main challenges, I would say.
Thank you so much, Abdul. And of course, through this seminar, we don't want to just focus on the negatives and the challenges. In a minute, we will come to solutions and opportunities. But thank you for sharing your daily challenges. I want to pick up on the last point, or one of the last points that you made about brands and their engagement. They have huge influence globally. There's recognition. They have a lot of power and can have a lot of positive influence. I'm just going to go back to Leah before coming back to you, Abdul, shortly. But Leah, from your perspective, so talking about brands and knowing that one of the aims of the GCFF is to increase the commitment from brands to recycling, producing recycling materials. But what, in your opinion, why is it taking quite a long time for the brands and the sector to make the shift to the circularity? Over to you. What do you think is going on or not going on?
Thank you, Samantha. So yeah, we did see some growing awareness when it comes to this topic and some progress, but it's true that the adoption of recycled materials from brands does remain slow across the sector for the moment. So why is it taking so long? There could be several factors for this. First, I would say economic challenges. Producing garments with recycled materials can be more expensive compared to using virgin materials. So many brands may hesitate still to invest in recycled materials unless there's going to be a clear demand from consumers, for instance, or also a cost parity. There also could be, supply chain limitations. The infrastructure for collecting, sorting, recycling textiles are still pretty underdeveloped in some regions. So that makes the availability of high quality recycled materials difficult in the quantities that is needed for brands. One other one should be regulatory frameworks, the fact that there is still insufficient regulations across regions to incentivize brands to adopt recycled materials. So stronger policies that mandate recycled content in products could definitely accelerate this shift. We can see in the EU there's going to be, the eco-design, the SPR, the eco-design for sustainable products regulations that will probably set a minimum requirement of recycled materials inside of new textile products. So this could potentially help. Those would be main factors. Of course, there are different ones that we could state, but I would say those are the main ones, I would say.
Thank you so much, Leah, and thanks you. At the same time, you mentioned challenges, but also opportunities and solutions. And just picking up on, you mentioned the EU, and I've seen a few comments in the chat box. So I welcome our speakers to just keep an eye on the questions, because we'll be coming back to answer some of those shortly. So Abdur, I want to come back to you briefly now. We've talked about some challenges, and I know there's some questions directed to you as well in the chat box about challenges. But I want to think about opportunities now and the future. So what is your wish? What is your hope for the future? And what opportunities do you see that as a sector we can have further impact on your work? So together, what do you see as an opportunity for the future?
Yeah, of course, we all understood that recycling is a future, honestly speaking. By recycling activities, we can save our earth and resources to leave our planet longer. So I wish following changes will happen in future, near future, like more innovation tasks will do to impact in recycling industry. More and more innovators will engage to figure out problems and solutions. Brands will support by sourcing more recycled product despite its limitation. So here in this recycling sector, opportunities are endless. We are keep expanding our materials processing capacity. It means that we are getting a lot of demand from across the world, and we are not only limited to single country but also expecting to expand in multiple countries to support the industry. So there is a endless opportunity, as I mentioned. So I see future is really bright. So this kind of waste management company required to establish more in place, I would say, in all on manufacturing hub, so that it can be accessible very quickly to the industry with a great quality. It is really important to upscale the circularity. So the future is good, I would say. And also, Leah already mentioned that legislation matter. This is also true, that brands is really important to recycle their waste and also traceable. So we are into it. We are kind of ahead working. So this is really important for us and also for industry. So I also recommend my fellow investors and businessmen to make sure compliance in this sector as well, because in this sector workers are not getting well paid and also working environment is not good. But we Recycle Raw is working in this sector too, our unit compliance. So we hope everybody will come forward with compliance unit and play a fair game, so that we all together make a great chance of recycle industry and catch the market, and also we can impact in the total recycle and also fashion industry. And thanks. I think it makes you.
Thank you. No, that's great, Abdur. Thank you. And thank you for finishing on the aspect of people, because of course, we're talking about big companies, we're talking about countries, supply chains, all of these big things. But actually, none of this can happen without the workers and their conditions, their working conditions, their rights, everything is really important. So thinking about things holistically, thank you for mentioning that. I want to come just now to the final intervention from Christine, who has been waiting patiently before we go into the Q&A section. So Christine from GIZ, I know that textile and waste circularity has been at the core of GIZ's fabric project for the last 3 years with Cambodia, or in Cambodia and Vietnam, but increasingly in Bangladesh and Pakistan. So again, looking forward to overcoming challenges, to lessons, to opportunities. From your work, what are the learnings that you have that might be similar to what you've heard or what you want to build on? And what do you think we need to do to overcome any of these issues to pave the transition to more circular supply chains? So over to you, please, Christine.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and thanks for the speakers before me. They already said quite a lot, and a lot of what they said resonated with me very well. And I totally agree. Recycling is future. However, please allow me to make this side remark that recycling is, of course, now gets full attention, but we should also not forget about reduce and reuse before that, right? It's also a bit a hint towards the brands. All the topics around overproduction, about defaults that has to be burned. I can just talk what I see on the ground, and cannot be even diverted into recycling. So these issues also must be tackled before we talk about recycling, or at the same time at least. This is just a side note that we always forget when we talk about recycling, but we should look at these topics as well. But coming back to what I really want to emphasize here and what we learned on the ground is that the collaboration is key. And I know it's a sentence that everyone keeps saying, and every panel you will hear that. It doesn't matter which topic. But on the topic of upstream circularity and talking about the post-industrial waste in the production countries, it is really important that the factories, the waste handlers, the recyclers, and the brands, that they work together on that, because it doesn't make sense if we are working with the factories on improving the textile waste management on the production floor. It doesn't make sense if we just train them, but we don't follow the requirements of the specific recyclers, right? So we need to know that the pre-sorting at source matches the requirements of the recyclers or the waste handlers. And then we also need to ensure that it is aligned with the waste reduction or waste recycling KPIs of the brands, right? So all these puzzle pieces must fit together. And then what is then even more importantly, and hope that's the ideal version for a circular supply chain, is that the recycled product then at the end must be fulfilling the standards of the brands to uptake it into their collection. But this also requires a whole many different other departments in the brand. It's not necessarily the sustainability department, right? It's more the sourcing department, the materials department. So all these departments within the brand also have to collaborate very closely together in order really to uptake then the recycled material that might come from the post-industrial waste in their factories. So it is quite complex and quite challenging to really achieve this circular supply chain, what we are talking about. And then it also relates to one question in the chat, is about the waste handler and the waste, the local waste handler and the local waste recycling businesses that we see in Cambodia, also in Vietnam or Bangladesh and Pakistan. They are also in many cases informal, right? They might not even have a license, or they have compliance. We see a lot of compliance issues. So GIZ is also currently working intensively with this group of stakeholders to improve or increase the social and environmental compliance, to also understand how can they professionalize their business, because these waste handlers are very important aggregators in this whole circular supply chain, and we need them if we really want to upscale it. And oftentimes they are left behind, or let's put it differently, they are coming now into the picture because they are now the extended supply chain for a brand, for example. Because if you're looking at the legislation, for example, the CSDDD, the due diligence legislation that is coming, that will also indirectly include the waste actors and the waste sector, because they are dealing with the waste from the factories, and it might cause any environmental risk if you burn them or landfill them. So then this will go back to the due diligence obligation of the brand. So now it is also another complexity for the brands to deal with this extended sector of the waste sector, which they have not done before. So these were some lessons learned that we also saw on the ground that was challenging. But we have been working on it successfully with a lot of partners, brands, recyclers, waste handlers, and we're also going to do that in future. And then that's for now. I can say a few more things once we go to the questions. Back to you, Sam.
Thank you so much, Christine, and thank you. In your intervention there, you seamlessly took us into the Q&A. So thank you for keeping your eye on the questions as well. So thank you to all of the panelists for your reflections, sharing your experience, and really going in depth to some of the work that you've been doing as well, particularly on some of the challenges that I know Abdul has been facing in Bangladesh. So thank you to participants for your questions in the chat box. We've been monitoring them as we go. We've probably got about 7 or 8 minutes now to have the first round of questions. Then we'll pause so that we can do a bit of a feedback survey with you before going into the last round of questions. So panelists, I think we're probably all visible now on the screen together, hopefully. So as if we're an in-person panel. I want to pick up on one of the questions that has come in just now about the upgrading of infrastructure, because it links to the question we asked at the beginning, what the participants here today think are some of the main challenges in the sector. And the issue of infrastructure came up. So I want to go back to the question that has been posed, I think, by Inetta. So do you think it's important to upgrade the infrastructure for the collection of garments? And they then share their experiences. They're looking at digital passports. What's the likelihood of that? And they're really asking you as a panel of experts to help validate the potential for such infrastructure and legislation related to digital passports. So do digital product passports have global adoption possibilities? I'll just give you a moment to read that comment because they've really shared some detail there. And then I'll invite one of the speakers to kick off with some of their thoughts. And participants, please continue to add comments and questions, and we will come to those in a second. So the importance of upgrading infrastructure for collection of garments.
Yeah, maybe, sorry to jump in here, Sam. Ineta, thank you for posting this question. Ineta is specifically speaking about post-consumer waste, which is also a bit of a different story because it is much more, of course, challenging in pre-sorting and pre-collection. But what I understood from Ineta is that she is also looking for experts and partners to validate her idea, her advanced sorting idea. So I would also suggest that, Ineta, you can post your email into the chat, and then whoever wants to get in touch with you, they can do it. And then they can talk about your idea you have on this advanced, improved sorting solution. Yeah. The other questions I would take from Ineta is a digital product passport. Maybe it's a question for you, Abdur. What do you expect? How will it also increase the traceability? And yeah, how will it affect you? Maybe we can move on to that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. We're getting traceability right now. The factories and the manufacturers, we all are working in Bangladesh and Indonesia market to make them motivated that you need to input the data into systems so that we can trace the materials from the factory, like who is the end customer and where's the composition is there and where's the color and where's the quantity is going to be discarded from your cutting table, so that we can use this data for digital product passport. So this kind of technology is available right now. So we basically in our system, we're not able to identify by ourselves like where's the percentage of composition in our facility. But when factory, I mean the manufacturer who are the waste generator, they have the data, like they make the fabric, they know the composition. In that case, if they are aware enough and they input data into system, it's really helpful to make it digital traceability. So in this sector, in this perspective, I would say more awareness is important, and infrastructure is here partially, but many company in US and Europe, they're working to finalize in our states, like how to identify the composition percentage in ourselves so that it would be more transparent. We can input data by ourselves to make it digital passport. So there's a lack of technology, I would say.
Thanks, Abdul, for your response to that question. Just still on the theme of infrastructure, I want to just pick up on another question that came in, and they're looking for your experience. So regarding waste management infrastructure, from the panelists' experience, has there been a lot of difficulty in trying to get local and national governments involved? So this is really, again, kind of a partnership and influence question. And any reflections maybe from Leah or Christine on that, on the work that you've been doing? So local and national government involvement.
I can add a little bit on this.
Thank you.
So it can be quite tricky as governments. They can have competing priorities, limited resources, so it's not always what they would prioritize. But what you can advocate, just sort of question and pretty much what you can say to governments to try to get them to better understand why it's important. You can, of course, tell them that it's going to create jobs, that it can reduce landfill costs as well, boost local economies through recycling, and also attract green investments, I would say. So, that's maybe how you can try to get governments to be interested in waste management infrastructure development. Christine, if you want to add anything.
Yes, as GIZ, we work very closely with the government in our partner countries. And many of our partner countries, they have very ambitious circular economy strategies or green economy strategies. And you see a lot of good intention and ambition into this strategy. But then oftentimes it boils down to the economics and the lack of investments and lack of also local investors or foreign investors, because then the doing business index or the challenges around doing business in some of our countries is adding to the problem, right? So that there's no investment in the infrastructure. So some governments, they have, for example, in Cambodia, we have an investment law that favors green technology in terms of tax advantages. Something like that can definitely help. And the governments we talk to, they are open for recommendations. And we also, as GIZ, we have published a sustainability recommendation paper on textile waste management, where we gave also some recommendations for the government, some recommendations for the factories, for the brands, so that we can see who should play which role in order to foster circularity. Yeah.
Thank you both. Yeah, it's very complex, isn't it, in different places, but it's about finding the hook and the trigger that will really incentivize government and also link into their plans and agenda. I want to just pause there because we're coming into the last 11 minutes of our session today. We invite the participants to just engage in a short feedback questionnaire. We as panelists and moderator are going to take a few minutes break so we can glug some water, and then we will come back with the last round of questions. So I think magically a feedback link will appear in your chat box now. We would appreciate your feedback so that we can continue to improve the dialogue sessions. So please take 2 minutes, participants, just to provide us with that feedback, and then we will be back for the last round of questions. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Thank you for taking a moment to complete the feedback so we can continually improve. Last moments for questions. I'd like to ask Christine, there's a question in the chat box from a colleague at UNDP. Would you be able to focus on that one, please, Christine?
Just going sure. To find yes. Thank you, Shilpi, for your questions. But the question is also for Abdur. But since I'm talking, I can say a few words. We are currently intensively working with waste handlers here in Cambodia. And it was already a big challenge to create this network of waste handlers, because here in Cambodia, they are very informal. They are working under the radar. It's not very obvious. Whereas in Pakistan and Bangladesh, you can see much more of the recycling industry than in Cambodia. So each country is very, very different in their context. And we intensively working with these waste handlers and waste workers to understand, okay, their challenges. We give them advice on, okay, what kind of license do they need? How can they professionalize? What are the basic social and labor law issues that they should consider? And of course, occupational health and safety is one of the also the big topic we are discussing with them. But as long as they are informal, it is very challenging for them to get business, because more and more factories, due to the requirement of the brands, of course, they're asking for the formal collection license at their factory door. So if they can't show it, then they will be out of the business very soon if this picks up. So yeah, there are various topics that we're working with them. But Abdur, you work with them from day to day.
Thanks, Christine. Over to Abdul.
Yeah. Your explanation is really correct. The major challenges here, informal sector. Like if there is a law, like they have to be formal, otherwise they will kick out of the business. Then definitely they are bound to maintain everything. Formal means you have to maintain compliance and labor law for workers, and then they can get a better working condition, social protection, everything. But this sector, unfortunately and unluckily, is not formal enough. But step by step, like GIZ, GFA, and many organizations, including they're working all together to make this industry formal. Like Recycle Raw is a formal, and some other players are trying to be formal. So like environment is getting better day by day. So right now it's still challenging. So the key element is to be formal, get license, and like right now we are getting also demand from our customers like recyclers, and they are asking to maintain some COC. So this COC, when we need to maintain, we need to have all sort of certification. So this is good that brands are also pushing to get this kind of CSC from their recyclers. So consequently, this is conveying this message to waste handler or waste management company. So step by step, it's getting better, I would say.
Thank you, Abdul. Thank you, Christine. I think we have time for one last comment, and just to round up on the spirit of collaboration, because that is obviously one of the key themes of this seminar and the whole series. So the last comment or question in the chat box, panelists, is around is from Jessica, who thanks us for the insights. And they're asking, apart from government collaboration, are there coalitions or organizations to encourage more industry or manufacturer collaboration in same geographies? So especially on waste collection, so that there is the quantity of similar textile waste significant enough to recycle or find good use of such waste. So are there coalitions or already exist in certain geographies that can bring people together for waste collection? I'm going to open that up to the panel to decide who wants to jump in and take that one with any ideas.
Let me read the question. Thanks so much.
Meanwhile, participants, thank you so much for all your comments and questions that we are collecting. Abdul, yes, over to you.
Yeah. Jessica, thank you for your nice question. And actually, we all are talking about this matter that apart from the government, many organizations, yes, GIZ is here, also GFA. Everybody is working to motivate waste collectors, so that they can like deliver high quality materials, and they can develop. Especially GIZ recently have initiated a lot of training to waste collectors and also factories who are waste generator, and also reverse resources. They also play a good role in the market to make high quality materials, I would say. Like for recycle raw, we are delivering premium quality materials. Like we maintain very accurate composition and color combination, so that recyclers can use them as a feedstock without any hesitation. So in that case, I would say, yeah, not only government but also other organization, they're supporting us a lot, and also they're not only supporting us but also many stakeholders in the ground. So yeah, it's
Thank you.
good.
Thank you, Abdul. And for participants, when we follow up after this seminar, we'll be sending you a summary of the inputs from today, the key themes that came up in a learning product, and we can list out some of the organizations and networks that already exist. So a few that Abdul already mentioned, we can share those with you. So colleagues on the panel and participants, we have come to the end of the seminar today, just with a few minutes to wrap up. So thank you so much for all of your inputs. I'd like to really thank the panelists for bringing your different perspectives, right from the global level through to local action. You brought the perspective of brands, governments, from the workers, the collectors themselves. And we talked about lots of different issues, not only the challenges that exist in the garment and textile post-industrial waste management, supply chain and industry, but also a lot of the opportunities and collaboration, innovation, digitalization being one of those. I think from all of the panelists, we did get a sense of optimism and hope. I know particularly from Abdul, he thinks, the future really is recycling. But with the words of Christine as well, it's recycle and reuse, the three R's themselves, not just recycle. But yes, lots of potential for further conversations and collaborations. The challenges are there. There are issues of lack of technology, there are issues of infrastructure, but there is the demand and the awareness that we are building on. So I think together as continued collaborators and people interested in this work, whether you are working at the local level, you're a brand at the global level, you're academia or a donor, I think this kind of forum that brings us together to understand insights from others' experience is really important. So thank you so much for joining us today, everyone. And we will follow up with you after this seminar with a learning product, and certainly look forward to seeing you on a following event. I'm just looking at the chat box if there's any last comments. Yes, certainly. We would love to have someone from a brand on the panel next time. I can guarantee to you, we reach out to many people and try and get a diverse brand, a diverse panel. And I'm very pleased with who we've had today. But in the future as well, we will continue to see what other panelists we can bring into the discussions. So thank you so much, everyone, and look forward to seeing you again. And please watch out for the learning product. Thank you so much. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you.